Hello, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first start sit advice stream of the season. NFL season's finally here. Got a big game tonight. You're a Bills fan, so even a bigger game for you, I assume, with the two powerhouses, I would say, in the AFC colliding and the Bills just hoping both teams somehow lose. That would be nice for you.
I mean, if it's not already there, I mean, I'm showing off some love for the East Coast team here because I'm not gonna. I'll be nice and say screw the Chiefs, but
I mean, you can hate them. That's fine. You should hate the people who spank you every single year. I would too. That's exactly what you should do. You shouldn't be cheering for them. And then you guys trade them fucking the guy who's probably going to go for 100 yards and a touchdown tonight.
okay, Xavier Worthy's gonna be another John Ross. You just watch.
I mean, he's not. John Ross isn't like John Ross couldn't make a roster, and Xavier Worthy can play football, but it's going to be fine.
We'll see.
I've already seen it. I've never seen John Ross play good football, and that includes college. But Xavier Worthy, lots of players. Xavier Worthy's probably not worthy of a start for you. He's in some DFS lineups for me. Obviously, he's a cheap option in his first start. But that is not what we're talking about. We'll talk about a little bit of DFS stuff if there's some dead air. But we're here to answer your questions. And every single Thursday, you guys are the star of the show. So if you guys have questions now, after the fact, definitely comment them. Even if you comment them on the video after the fact, we will chime in and answer your questions there. But it's the live participation that we seek, that we crave, that keeps us going. So definitely jump in. But before we do that, or before you guys start talking, then we'll just talk about our articles. You go to flurrysports.org to read them yourself. Flurrysports.org has the rankings as well. But we do have 3 start-sit articles there: running back, wide receiver, tight end. McAdoo here to my right wrote wide receivers and tight ends. And Henry, who theoretically should be on the Thursday show, usually wrote the running backs for this week. I'm not sure if that's going to be a normal case for him or not, but we will have at least 3 start-sit articles every single week. And let's bring one up right now, shall we? Logan before, though. Logan, what's up? How you doing, buddy? Rashee Rice or Tank Dell? 1 or a full point PPR? Let me look at my rankings just so I give my correct. I mean, it's Rashee Rice. I guarantee he's higher for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against Tank Dell, but Rashee Rice is going to be ranked higher in the depth chart for the Chiefs, and so he's going to get more targets. And Tank Dell, and this is what a lot of people are going to argue with the Texans, he's in a crowded wide receiver room in Houston.
Yeah, I love Tank Dell as a player, and that's, he's a great player, but people keep forgetting that he is now wide receiver 3. He is no longer wide receiver 2. And Rashee Rice, people are trying to write off because of his offseason, issues, and very fair. He certainly has them. It's another Alvin Kamara situation, though. It's not like Rashee Rice is in trouble this year. He's going to be in trouble next year. So at least for half-point PPR here, these are the main rankings. You can switch it, by the way, if you go to flurrysports.org. Just as easy as that. So we got Rashee Rice at 16. Tank Dell's going to be in the 30s, I believe. 39. Quite a bit lower. I like Tank Dell. He's going to have to score a touchdown to be viable, I think, for fantasy, for anything other than a flex, most likely. But keep the questions rolling, and appreciate you too, Logan. He should have a good night. Like, Rashee Rice is a good player. And certainly he wants to put the offseason stuff behind him. He wants to just play football. Chiefs just wanted to play football. Let's keep the distractions in the past, and let's get him into the end zone. Well, let's talk about some start-sit running backs. Our start-sit articles, there's, a bunch of different interpretations across the internet. A lot of people will be like, hey, Christian McCaffrey is a good start. Most readers probably know that. You guys are smart because you're watching the show, so I know that you know that. We are talking about the RB2. We're talking about the flexes. We indicate that here. We are talking about the players that you actually have questions about. So the first one, Henry has Javonte Williams as a start this week. Javonte Williams burnt a lot of people last year, but he was hurt. And at the end of the year, he started to get more and more of the touches, more and more of the snaps. Fully healthy this year. Broncos want to see what they have in him. And if all goes according to plan, I think he's going to be not quite a bell cow. That's very rare in today's NFL. but I think he's going to see a huge snap share and a bunch of the load. So I like his call here. I also don't believe in the Seahawks whatsoever. So Javonte Williams, we will find out very quickly if he is a good player or not, I think. What's your opinion on Javonte?
I mean, I'm going to piggyback off what you said and just say he's also playing with a rookie quarterback, so they're going to want to run the ball more. They're going to want to help Bo Nix with the run game out. So, I mean, why not start Javonte Williams, because he's going to get the carries.
That's very true. Yeah, they definitely don't want to win or lose the game on the arm of Bo Nix quite yet. They definitely want to get him settled in. Next start here, Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard was drafted way later than I feel like he should have been in a lot of leagues. He's going to be the RB1 to start the year before Brooks gets healthy. And he showed that he's fine. I'm not a huge Chuba Hubbard believer, but I mean, the volume doesn't lie. Miles Sanders really isn't doing anything there at this point anymore. Even Henry says his only true competition is Miles Sanders. And I think Miles Sanders gets used a little bit more than last year. I'm not sure why they didn't use him whatsoever, but Chuba Hubbard should be good theoretically for the first month of the season. I don't love the matchup with the Saints, but volume alone, I think he's going to be fine. What's your thoughts on him?
So yeah, I got burned on Miles Sanders last year. So for me, I'm going to steer clear of any Panthers bet running back. But if you do end up with Chuba Hubbard, he's not a bad play. I mean, if Miles Sanders is out this week, Chuba's going to get a lot of the carries, because you're not going to go with a guy who's probably going to be called up from the practice squad and running out there and giving him at most maybe 6 carries, if that. But yeah, so Chuba Hubbard's going to absolutely be the bell cow this week.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert for the rest of the entire season, I'm sure. I just don't love this Panthers team whatsoever. So to your point, you're steering clear of Panthers running backs. I'm steering clear of most Panthers. I think he's as safe as it gets on the team. But, if he has 2 trips to the red zone, you better hope he sees every single touchdown there, because you are really hoping for a touchdown. And he may, because I don't know who else they're giving the ball to. Deontay Johnson's fine. I'll put his over-under on touchdowns at like 3.5. Adam Thielen's fine. They have a bunch of slot guys. It's a weird team. It's not a well-constructed team, and we will find out if it's a well-coached team. Chances are is no. Sits. Henry has Raheem Mostert as a sit, and I get it. I think most people where he ended up getting drafted, I'm not sure if he says it here, doesn't look like it, where he ended up getting drafted, I don't think very many people who drafted him have to start him or plan to start him. But I don't dislike Raheem Mostert this week. And it's just because I've seen him go crazy at the start of every single season in recent memory, I feel like. I think A-Chain is getting a little overhyped. I think he's great. He's a extremely good talent, obviously. But I think Raheem Mostert's going to see plenty of touchdowns, plenty of touches. And in the case of a lot of the overhyped rookies last year, they're all still on the timeshare. So this applies to Jahmyr Gibbs. This applies to Bijan Robinson. Don't plan for their role to magically expand overnight when they have really good players that they're playing with. So Raheem Mostert, I don't hate. I'm surprised that he's 20th in the consensus rankings. So I guess technically maybe he's a sit for me too. I don't know. What's your thoughts on him while I find where I have him ranked?
So, I mean, I thought he was overhyped in like the draft. Like I thought he was getting picked way too high, because he technically is the backup. He's going to be the guy who sits behind A-Chain, and the only time, obviously, he's going to come in when A-Chain's coming out. But I still see it as probably a 60-40 split in favor of A-Chain. So, and I don't see Mostert getting the goal line carries because he's more of a speed back than a power back.
To be fair, I don't know if they have a power back.
If that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say your point's wrong. It's just they don't have one. Maybe it's Jeff Wilson. I mean, that seems like the play, right? We all love all 3 Dolphins running backs, and then the 4th one, Jeff Wilson. I don't even know if he's still there, but he would vulture them all and piss everybody off. Towney, what are you guys' takes on Lamar's projections this week? I believe I have him at quarterback 3. Let me see. For the record, I had Mostert at running back 23. So little bit lower than the consensus, but I still like him. I have Lamar at quarterback 4. I assume he's going to have a good game. This is going to be an offense that looks very different, I think, with Derrick Henry. We'll see if they have him offset or if they actually go under center. I think that changes a lot of Lamar Jackson's game. But it also sounds like they're going to give Lamar Jackson a lot more freedom at the line of scrimmage, which I think is great. I think he's going to pass the ball a lot more this year, though, too. So obviously, quarterback 4, obviously Lamar Jackson, obviously prime time. If you have him, you're starting him. I don't think there's a question about that, right?
Yeah, unless you magically have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Jalen Hurts on your roster, I think you're starting Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, very, very. I mean, the option's going to be so stupid. Like, pick your poison with Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson. It's going to be an absolute nightmare for any defense, even one as smart and talented as the Chiefs defense. So Lamar Jackson could have a lot of rushing touchdowns. He could throw it all over the field to Zay Flowers, a healthy Mark Andrews. Nelson Aguilar's there. I'm a big fan of Tez, the rookie from North Carolina. So lots of, and Rashad Bateman, I guess, is the wide receiver 2 there. That feels weird. Maybe this is finally his year, but talented offense should be a good offense. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
Reigning MVP.
Not to go back on what we were talking about, but I'm looking at the Dolphins depth chart, and they have both Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane ranked as running back 1. So
I would assume Mostert has most of the carries this week. This is just how it is every year. I feel like Achane he's not the change of pace because, like we just said, they're both just sort of speed guys, but Mostert's the lead guy. He knows how to play in this offense, and he knows how to set people up. I don't hate him this week. I don't love him this week. Achane has more of the home run ability, if you will, but they're both good. They're both good starts, I think, personally. Achane's ranked higher for me, but yeah. Henry also has Najee Harris as a sit. We have Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh, going back to Atlanta. Atlanta's defense, I don't know why everyone's overlooking it. I think they could be very good this year. And I assume that is sort of what Henry is saying here. They're saying the offensive line looked horrendous in the preseason. They lost one player to the start of the year, I suppose, but their offensive line's much improved. It's going to be a little bit different because they're completely changing the run scheme and going from gap scheme to zone scheme is going to take some time. So to Henry's point here, I think the running game could look pretty shitty to start the year. Give it time, be a little patient. But yeah, Najee probably needs a touchdown to be viable for fantasy this week. And if you don't think he's going to score the touchdown, then sit him. He's probably a flex value.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't even draft him because of one man, because of Arthur Smith. He sucks. He will frustrate the hell out of you no matter who you have. I've had Kyle Pitts. Many, like in our dynasty, I've had Kyle Pitts, and it's just 1 week he goes off, and the next week he's done. So it's just he's just that guy, that coach, that coordinator you have to hate.
Yeah, maybe Kyle Pitts is the issue, but who knows? Who knows? I'm a big Arthur Smith fan. I mean, he's got a track record of being very good. As we get the other article up, which is the start sit wide receivers. If there's people watching, definitely ask some questions and we will help you out. Even in trade questions. Yesterday we went live. We already had some trades. So feels a little weird to be doing trades for non-dynasty leagues already, but some people have an itchy trigger finger, so do what you got to do. But we do have wide receivers here, written by McAdoo on the right, so he can definitely explain his reasoning for these more than we did for the running backs. But the first start here, we have Mike Evans versus the Commanders. Evans, to your point, and I mean to the point that we hyped him up a lot in our previous streams on this channel. Mike Evans, for whatever reason, has been overlooked this year, as has the entire Buccaneers passing attack. I don't understand it. But what's your overall thoughts on making him a start week 1?
So, I mean, like you said, like there wasn't a lot of change in the Buccaneers offense from year to year. Like, like the top 2 wide receivers are still there. Rachaad White, whether for better or for worse, is still there. Baker Mayfield re-signed with his team. Like, it just makes no sense to me. But Mike Evans just went off at the end of the last lot of the weeks last year. His last game, he scored almost 30 fantasy points against the Detroit Lions. Granted, it was in the playoffs, but still. And then you combine that with the fact that the Commanders gave up the most points to wide receivers last year. It just seems like an obvious play to me.
Yeah, I think it's a super obvious play. I do like the Buccaneers as like a sneaky team overall for fantasy. I like them. We gave out season long underdog picks yesterday. Baker Mayfield's passing yards is set at about 3,600. I thought that was a embarrassing line, so definitely take the higher on that. Like all of the above, I like this team quite a bit. The only change on offense is that their offensive line got better, and the only change on defense is that they got worse. So definitely love the passing attack for Tampa this year. And I mean, this is one of maybe 2 or 3 seasons in his entire career that Baker Mayfield has a tiny bit of stability and a little bit of like similarity from the previous season. He hasn't had that. He's had to hit the reset button every fucking year. So I like him as a decent play this year. Next, you got Amari Cooper here going against his former team, playing indoors, lots of good stuff there. And he gets maybe a better quarterback back, I guess. I don't even know. But Deshaun Watson's playing. He is there. What's your thoughts on Amari Cooper week 1 versus the Cowboys?
They're not in they're in Cleveland, not Dallas, so they're outside.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah.
That hurts him a little.
I mean, we always see the revenge games, and that's part of the reason why I said it, but if you look deeper into the matchup, he's not getting DaRon Bland. He's going to get Trayvon Diggs, who's coming off an ACL tear from last season ago, so he's not going to be able to go the whole game. You definitely know they're going to have him on a pitch count, so he's going to get a third cornerback for the Cowboys, which I forget off the top of my head who it is. It's in the article, I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember who it is. I'm not seeing it, but I don't know. Doesn't matter.
But yeah,
it's not those two.
Cornerback 3. So I mean, it seems like an easy play to me because how many guys do you see who are wide receiver 1s or at very worst wide receiver 2? But I don't. It's Cooper's obviously top tier, but how many guys? It's an obvious play. Come on now.
Yeah, I like it, and the line is weird for this game. I think they think CD Lamb's going to be slow or on a pitch count or whatever, but people are weirdly quiet / doubting the Cowboys this year. I don't like them. I think they are a team with a lot of drama and in disarray. But if there's one thing not to doubt for the Cowboys, it's their offense. I think they're going to score plenty of points still. So if they score points, Browns are going to have to pass to keep up. So I like that. And they can't just lean on Nick Chubb, obviously, to start the year either. So they will be throwing the football. Logan, thoughts on Kyler Murray, top 5 quarterback if healthy? I think based on his legs, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback if healthy. But overall, like I'm not a huge believer in Marvin Harrison Jr.'s superstar status. I think he's a solid player. I just don't. I mean, he has no riz. Like him and Kyler are going to give each other the silent treatment every fucking down. It's going to be dumb. But then it's they don't really have a home run guy anymore. That they've thrived off of the deep ball and they don't really have the deep ball now. So I think he's good. If he's healthy, he's going to be fine. But the Cardinals are a team that wants to run the ball 30 times. And that's what they're going to do against the Bills this week. Like if the Bills can't get out to an early lead, they're going to have to outmuscle the Cardinals. The Cardinals want to grind it out. They're going to be very slow. They're going to just try to pound the rock against the Bills. And if the Bills can't stop it, it's going to be upset city. And the Cardinals are going to try to do that against every team this year because they can't really out-talent anybody. So Kyler's fine. If you have him, you're probably starting him. But top 5 is kind of iffy, especially with all the other mobile quarterbacks that are now in the league. I mean, you got Jaden Daniels, who I think is going to run a ton. Lamar's still up there. Josh Allen's there. So kind of tough to be top 5, I think. What's your thoughts?
I think he's top 10. I don't think he has the pieces like a lot of other quarterbacks have. The only 2 I can really think of is MHJ and McBride off the top of my head. Connor's not really a pass catcher. I forget who the backup is off the top of my head, but
it's just, they got Trey Benson, but they still got Michael Wilson, who's fine, and they got Greg Dortch, who again is fine, but they're not like starters on other teams.
Yeah, it's just they're not top tier. Like they'll get the job done. Like they're decent, but they're not the guys to move the needle.
No. I mean, they're not DeAndre Hopkins. They're not like people like that. So obviously Kyler's going to have to do stuff himself. And this is a team now that definitely wants to be a run first team. Can't say that enough. Sits here. We got Brandon Ayuk, obviously plenty of offseason drama, missed a bunch of practices. Could the timing be off? Could the conditioning be off? Truly, who knows? And he has a tough matchup. You can speak to that, I am sure, a little bit more.
The elite corners alone in Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter II, and DJ Reed. I put Sauce Gardner's real name in there, so my bad. But like that alone should scare you. I am high on the Jets defense this year, and I'm saying that as a Bills fan too. So it's just I feel highly of the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, they can make the playoffs, and that defense is why.
Yeah, the defense has been elite while playing from behind. If they get to play from in front at any point this year, they are going to be extremely scary. And yeah, that secondary is insane. The pass rush is still great. Even if Hassan Reddick continues to hold out, they are very, very, very good. And then the last one's Deontay Johnson. Talked about the Panthers a little bit already. He is the slot guy. People are saying that he is going to be the featured guy. If he's the featured guy, though, theoretically, he's not playing slot. So are we talking about Deontay Johnson now playing outside receiver? Because that's going to be laughable. So it's going to be weird. You have him as a sit. I couldn't agree more. But what's your thoughts on him?
The only Panthers wide receiver that averaged more than 10 points a game last year was Adam Thielen, the guy in the slot. And I'm going to guess that he's still going to be the guy in the slot because he's been there before. Mm-hmm. Was there last year. And then, again, you got to look at the cornerbacks on the other side of the ball. Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Now, granted, Kool-Aid McKinstry, we don't know what he has in the NFL, but those other two they're not pushovers. Marshawn Lattimore is an all-pro. Paulson Adebo is above average, maybe on top, like maybe a little bit towards a good tier, but he's a guy that will stop you. And I believe if he's lined up against Adebo or Lattimore, he's not going to have a good game.
Yeah, Lattimore's not only good, but then he gets into people's heads. And if Deontay Johnson's rattled whatsoever, like we've already seen him drop absolutely everything that comes his way. So I don't love it. Bryce Young probably gets a little too much hate, but he certainly doesn't inspire a ton of confidence even by the people who love him. So
yeah, I need him to do good. I have him in Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying he's a bust. I think it's way too early to say that, but
no,
they haven't set him up for success.
Yeah, and people said that Trevor Lawrence was a bust too after 1 year. Like it's just you have to get more than a year.
True. The whole Urban Meyer thing didn't help him either. But yeah, let's head over to tight ends. So your first start at tight end, we have Johnny Munt for the Vikings playing the Giants. I think it's going to be a little bit of a timeshare, but what's your thoughts on Johnny Munt for the Vikings?
So again, Johnny Munt has to play with a backup quarterback. It is what it is. It sucks. I would rather see JJ McCarthy out there, but Sam Darnold, I think he's probably a good stopgap quarterback for the Vikings. And Munt, he wasn't bad last year at the end of the year with Nick Mullins, the chuck and fuck quarterback out there. So I mean, why not? If you need something, Johnny Munt's not that bad of a play here.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't love Sam Darnold. I don't understand why anybody is acting like Sam Darnold is worse than Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, people like that, because he's not. He's fine. The issue with Sam Darnold is that he gets rattled extremely easily, and the Giants are going to blitz it every single down. So either he's going to get good checkdowns to tight ends like Johnny Munt, or he's going to get rattled and see ghosts again. We shall see. But regardless, I think the tight end's a pretty decent chunk or decent role in the Vikings offense. We'll see how many snaps they split between Munt and Oliver. Truly, who knows? I think Oliver's a better blocker. So if they want to do a little bit more of a run scheme and stuff like that, I think he's going to see more of the snaps. But I think Munt's a better receiver. So truly, who knows? Obviously, for fantasy, you definitely want the receiver. We got Pat Fryermuth here versus the Falcons. Henry didn't like Najee Harris in the same matchup, but why do you like Pat Fryermuth against the Falcons here?
I said stay away from Arthur Smith, but the Falcons gave up the sixth most fantasy points to tight ends last year, and that's what I'm going off of. Yes, they have Justin Simmons. Yes, they got Matthew Judon. But I believe that Justin Simmons is going to be more towards the wide receivers like George Pickens and all that. So I think it's a better matchup for Fryermuth because he's not going to have the safeties or any cornerback on him. So
yeah, and Arthur Smith knows how to use good tight ends. We've seen that time and time again. So
he
Pat
had one last
Fryermuth,
year. Didn't utilize him.
yeah, he did. Jonnu Smith had a good year.
Johnny Smith is an ass.
I mean, that's fair, but he had a good year. Pat Fryermuth is going to be a pretty big staple in this offense, I think. Now it sounds like there's a real possibility Russell Wilson misses. I don't think it really matters who's at quarterback, but that's a crazy situation if Justin Fields already starts week 1 for them. And if he starts week 1, going back, obviously, to his home state, Georgia, and plays extremely well, we'll see if Russell Wilson even sees the field this year. Regardless, whoever's the quarterback, they're certainly an iffy player, and I would assume they target the big white guy in the middle of the field who's probably going to be wide open. We also have a sit with Brock Bowers. Rookie tight ends rarely pan out. I mean, a lot of hype around rookie tight ends last year, and almost none of them did well. Sam Laporta was the best one. That was a ideal situation. Brock Bowers, I think, is a great talent. He's going into another timeshare situation. It's iffy quarterback. It's an iffy matchup. It's an iffy everything. And he's hurt. So I assume I stole a lot of your talking points, but you can elaborate on them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, name one tight end that came in and lit the world on fire. Week 1.
Besides Laporta.
Like Laporta was excellent last year. I'll give you that. But I don't remember what he did week 1. He's probably the outlier of everything. Like,
yeah,
you got to give these guys some time. Like, there's an adjustment period to the NFL. That also, he's got a questionable tag with that injured foot. I think they said he's going to go, but still, how much is it going to hinder him? And then the Chargers were below the average in giving up points to fantasy tight ends last year.
Yeah, and this Raiders offensive line's fucking terrible. So they're going to have to use the tight end to chip and stuff. Brock Bowers is an okay blocker, but if he's already banged up and hurt, why are they going to force it? Especially when they drafted another tight end very high last year in Michael Mayer. So they can just use Mayer quite a bit, especially when you have like someone like Joey Bosa there or Khalil Mack. They need the tight end to chip. So even if Brock Bowers is in the game, he is going to be chipping. He is going to be blocking. And rookies get rattled. Rookies aren't used to blocking like that. They're not used to getting hit by Khalil Mack in the face to start their route. So I do not like Brock Bowers. The more I talk about it, the lower he goes in my rankings this week. Stay away from him if you can.
And don't get me wrong, I watched this guy fuck up Florida, my favorite team in college. So it's not like he is. I know how good a talent he is. Him and Ladd McConkey just absolutely fucked up Florida. So like I know how good they are.
I fully agree. Yeah, I think Brock Bowers is going to be an excellent pro, but pause and lower expectations this year for sure. And then you got Cade Otton, one of the more boring names and players at the starting tight end position in the NFL. He's fine. He is the definition of okay. But he plays the Commanders. We talked about how you like the receivers, the wide receivers. So I assume you were just assuming that the targets are going to the wide receivers, not the tight end.
Yeah, I mean, Otton last year, after week 9, he didn't score over 10 fantasy points in the rest of the regular season. And combine that with the Commanders giving up the 11th fewest fantasy points last season, I just feel like there's better options out there than the Tampa Bay tight end.
100%. And like, I can't remember what Luke said yesterday, but Zach Ertz is unowned in almost every single league, and he's going to be the pickup next week. Like, for people are like, oh, this is the tight end pickup that you should be doing. It's Zach Ertz the past 3 years, and it's going to be the same thing. He's probably going to have 8 to 10 targets. It's like clockwork. So I'd rather go Zach Ertz than somebody like Cade Otton. I'd rather go Luke Musgrave than somebody like Kate Otten. I'd rather go a lot of players than Kate Otten, who I think honestly, Dawson Knox. The Bills are going to play a ton of 12 personnel. Him and Kincaid are going to be on the field a lot together. People completely forget that. And I think he has a chance for a touchdown, whereas Kate Otten really, I feel like his ceiling this week is 4 catches, 40 yards. That's his ceiling, and that's being very aggressive.
And the other thing that sucks for Otten is that he has a big-ass wide receiver in Mike Evans on his team, too. Bingo. So the tight ends that usually go up and get the red zone targets, that's not going to happen for the Bucs because of Mike Evans being on the outside there.
No, the Mike Evans goal line fade is a staple week ones every year for the past 10 years. It's going to happen this week as well. Really quick, we got obviously a great game tonight. We got the Chiefs and the Ravens. You can go to Underdog Fantasy right now. Use promo code FLURRY. You can scan the QR code on the screen as well. But you can get a $1,000 deposit match, 50% deposit match up to $1,000 on Underdog Fantasy, UnderdogFantasy.com, Underdog Fantasy app. And if you sign up right now, literally right now, you have to do it. You get a Travis Kelce special as well, where you can pick over 1/2 of a yard for Travis Kelce. It's a freebie. It's a gimme. Obviously, as you can see here, think he's going to get over 56 yards, but you can lower that all the way to 1/2 yard. Promo code FLURRY on Underdog Fantasy. Go do it right now. You only got about 35 minutes left, but I do have 3 picks right here for the article. We have Travis Kelce higher than 56.5 yards. He has gone over 70 yards in every single career game against the Ravens, which is 116 against them last year. He averaged 71 receiving yards at home last year. And that is with being on a run-first team, a team that played him the fewest snaps of his career. And that's because he's not as good of a blocker, with the receiving core better and the Ravens being pretty stout up front. Chiefs are going to be a passing team once again this year, and I like Kelce to go over 56.5 yards. He'll probably do that in the first half. I think that's a pretty safe one. And then to pair with it, you can go Mahomes higher than 1.5 touchdowns. Mahomes in every single week 1 start has gone for multiple touchdowns. That'll happen once again this week. Don't overthink that. And then Justice Hill higher than 10.5 receiving yards. This isn't one that's going to rock your socks off, but Justice Hill is going to see plenty of snaps for the Baltimore Ravens this year. And if the Ravens are trailing or in a close game, he is going to be on the field, not necessarily Derrick Henry. And you can do 10.5 receiving yards or 1.5 receptions. I like them both. I assume Justice Hill finishes the game with 8 touches, with 3 or 4 of them being catches. That's just his game. He's not going to be running the ball a ton. That is a safe and easy one. He'll probably do it in 1 catch. But yeah, you can lock them all in for 6 times your entry fee. And you can get a $1,000 bonus if you use promo code FLURRY. Anything? We got one question here. A couple of them. Johnny D, what's up? He has Christian McCaffrey and ETN as running back 1 and 2, T. Higgins, Nico Collins as wide receiver 1 and 2 in PPR. Do I keep Olave there, or do I switch him out with David Montgomery, James Conner, or George Pickens? What is your thought?
Who does Montgomery play this week?
The Rams. Ran all over him last year.
I might just keep Olave there. I'm just keeping Olave. I can't trust Montgomery yet.
I will make the bold prediction that Olave, Montgomery, and Connor all find the end zone this week. So I kind of like them all, but I would go Olave. The Panthers have such a bad defense, and they decided to trade away the only player that can get any sort of a pass rush. So if Derek Carr has time to just sit there and find Chris Olave 80 yards downfield, I think he's going to take that, and I think it's going to be successful. So I'm going to go Olave out of the group, but I truly don't think you have a bad decision here. I'd probably stay away from Pickens just because I think, or I know, the Falcons can just cheat towards him. I don't know why, to your point earlier, I don't know why Justin Simmons wouldn't be cheating towards him. And then triple hunts, Worthy or Ford, non-PPR. I think I'd go Ford.
Yeah, give me Ford Motor Company.
Yeah, he should be the bell cow. Any other questions that come in, ask away. Even if McAdoo has to drop off, I will stay on if we have questions. But any final thoughts before you do have to drop off?
No, it's back. It's here. I'm happy. Hopefully it doesn't end in misery like Saturday did with Florida absolutely shitting the bed. But hopefully tonight's a fun one.
Florida might be the greatest. I mean, they didn't look like it in week 1, but they could end up being like the best 2-win team of all time with their schedule this year. It's going to be brutal.
The sad part is I saw something that said they could honestly end up 1-11, and I believe it.
Yeah, their schedule is murderer's row down the stretch. Every good team in the top 10 that's from the SEC, essentially, they have to face.
And then,
good luck.
And then you also had Florida State, but I mean, they're not looking any better. Like, let's look at Florida State might actually be a Nickelodeon 8 a.m. game at this point.
Maybe. Hopefully Florida State has people just sitting out at that point, but we shall see. Florida State, though.
It wouldn't be the first time they sat out because they decided to sit out after the bowl game. I mean, or before the bowl game, I should say, because
I know, as a boycott instead of, they said it's a boycott, but they didn't want to get their dicks kicked in by Georgia, which happened anyway.
And I mean, it's too bad, so sad about your luck.
Yeah, is what it is. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you have any other questions after we drop off, definitely just leave the comments under the video and we will comment. But until then, every single Thursday night before Thursday Night Football, we will be live. Wednesday nights, we're live as well. I will try to be going live on Mondays as well, Monday afternoon. So subscribe. Do not miss any of those. And we'll see you soon.